It was supposed to be just another welfare check. A simple knock on the door after a concerned neighbor called dispatch about a house that had gone strangely silent. But the moment police arrived at the small blue home on Ashwood Lane, they stopped cold. The porch light glowed steadily. The curtains were drawn tight. The door itself was unlocked. And yet not one officer crossed the threshold. Something about that house held them frozen in place. They claimed it was the smell, the unnatural silence, the way the shadows moved inside even though the air was still. Whatever it was, they refused to go in. And in time, the world would understand why. On the surface, the Carter family of Willow Creek seemed ordinary enough. A single mother, Mrs. Carter, worked long night shifts at the hospital. Her teenage son Brian was quiet, often helping neighbors mow their lawns for extra money. Her daughter Lily, barely 14, was shy but sweet, often seen reading on the porch with a book too large for her small hands. No one ever guessed that behind the walls of that blue house, something unspeakable was unfolding. Neighbors began to notice the oddities first. Strange noises carried across the cul-de-sac at night, muffled cries, banging, sometimes laughter that didn't sound like laughter at all. Mrs. Carter explained it away easily enough. "It's just the kids watching scary movies," she said with a smile that seemed too practiced. But then came the detail no one could ignore. Every window of the house was covered not with curtains, not with blinds, but with thick black plastic. When Mrs. Hanley, a watchful neighbor, asked Brian about it, his response was flat and unsettling. "Mom says we need privacy." By June 9th, Mrs. Hanley couldn't ignore the feeling in her gut. She hadn't seen Lily in over a week. The lights in the Carter home flickered through the night, and the shadows behind the plastic seemed to twitch unnaturally. She called the police and told them something was wrong. Officers arrived just after 10 p.m. They knocked on the door. Silence. They called out. No reply. Then one officer tried the knob. Turned easily. The door swung open, and what spilled out from the darkness made them step back instantly. The stench hit first so strong it burned their throats, a sickening mixture of rot and chemicals. The air was thick, damp, almost alive. Then came the sound. A faint scraping, a dragging noise, and something else beneath it. Breathing, but not the kind of breathing that sounded normal. It was heavy, labored, wrong. The officers froze. Training told them to enter. Instinct told them to stay out. They chose instinct. Calling for backup, they sealed off the house and waited. For 2 long hours, number 42, Ashwood Lane sat untouched while neighbors peeked from behind fences and blinds, watching as more cruisers lined the street, their flashing lights painting the cul-de-sac red and blue. When tactical teams finally arrived near midnight, they suited up with respirators before crossing the threshold. Inside, the house was a maze of horrors. The first floor walls were covered in sheets of aluminum foil. Furniture was stacked in strange, barricade-like formations. Photographs of Lily were shredded and scattered across the floor like confetti from a nightmare. Then the officers reached the basement door. It was locked with 3 heavy chains. Behind it, the scraping grew louder. When they forced it open, what they found would stay with them forever. The basement was lined with cages not for animals, but for people. Chains bolted to the floor, mattresses soiled and torn, and scrawled across the far wall, in thick black paint, were 3 words, "She is mine." In the largest cage lay Lily. She was alive barely, thin, bruised, her hair matted into clumps. She could hardly speak. She whispered only one word, again and again, like a warning or a plea, "Brian." At first, everyone assumed her brother was responsible. Brian fit the profile too well. Withdrawn, sullen, sketchbooks filled with violent drawings. Neighbors remembered his odd late-night walks, his deflective answers. It made sense, or at least it seemed to. But when investigators ran the evidence, the truth hit harder than anyone expected. The fingerprints on the chains, the handwriting on the walls, the DNA on the stained mattresses. None of it pointed to Brian. Every trace belonged to one person, Mrs. Carter, the mother who worked nights at the hospital, the mother everyone trusted. She wasn't working extra shifts at all. She was coming home, locking her daughter away, constructing what detectives later called a prison built by a mother's own hands. Court records revealed the truth. She had been doing it for years. In the courtroom, Mrs. Carter defended herself with chilling calm. She claimed she was protecting Lily, keeping her away from a world too dangerous for innocence. That only in the basement could she keep her safe forever. But prosecutors laid bare a darker truth. A woman obsessed with control, who reduced her daughter to property. After weeks of testimony, the jury returned with a swift verdict. Guilty on every count. Justice, it seemed, had finally broken through the locked doors of Ashwood Lane. But even justice couldn't erase what happened on that first night. Officers later admitted that before they pulled back from the open door, they saw something moving inside the hallway, something crouched low to the ground, too fast to identify. Yet when tactical units entered, there was nothing there. To this day, some insist that what they saw wasn't Lily at all. The house has since been demolished. A vacant lot remains where the basement once yawned. But neighbors claim it isn't truly empty. At night, lights flicker where no wires run. And sometimes, just past midnight, they swear they can still hear it, the faint scrape of chains against concrete, echoing across Ashwood Lane. And investigators know the case isn't finished, because what they found when they returned years later was something even darker. This is only the beginning of the story of the house police refused to enter. Stay connected for part 2. Click the like button, comment below, and follow.